Hi everyone, this is Jill Gillespie, and for this little video today I want to talk about chair yoga and what that means and how you can set up for a chair yoga practice and just feel like you have everything you need right at your fingertips. So first of all, chair yoga, so if you're looking for a class to do and you see something that's billed as chair yoga, what that typically means is that it's a practice where a chair is the primary prop that is being used. And so that can mean a lot of different things. It can mean that the chair is the support that they just sit in and the whole class is seated and you don't move up and down. It could mean that the class is just chair supported in that they will transition up and down and do standing poses and seated poses and floor poses even maybe. But the idea is that in those classes the chair becomes what can help support us in our pose holds so we don't injure ourselves or fall if we lose our balance. And then it can also help us transition from standing to laying down on the floor. So it can just be some support to help us through our transitions without hurting ourselves. So just know that going into a chair yoga class, that can mean different things to different students. And so you might read a description or ask ahead of time what they mean by chair yoga, especially if you are somebody who's practicing 100% in a seated way right now. So yeah, the reason that you might consider a chair yoga class as opposed to another one is often chair yoga classes exist to reach students who, for whatever reason, have limited mobility and just need some support to move through a yoga class. And it could be from injury, it could be a condition that they have been born with, any reason where just standing through an entire class and moving up and down off the floor could be difficult for someone. Chairs are also great too if you have conditions or your body is structured in a way where going fully upside down, like putting your head under your heart, is not recommended. So that can help bring poses just really up off the floor to you where you are a little bit higher oriented in practice. And so I tend to, when I offer chair yoga classes, sometimes they're all seated, sometimes they're seated a little bit of up and down with it too, but hopefully a chair yoga class will work with its students to try to at least group those poses together. So you'll do all of your seated ones together and then all of your standing ones together after everybody has stood up together, and then maybe come back to seated again at the end. But they should be hopefully grouping those movements so you don't feel like you're just transitioning all of the time. And so to pick out a chair that you might want to use in your class, I use just a trusty, sturdy folding chair. I find that it's very versatile, and I mean, your dining room chairs, anything can work. It just an armless, wheelless folding chair is kind of just your most basic universal chair that you'll probably run into the least issues with. And what I like about this particular folding chair, or just kind of folding chairs in general, is they have the open back on them. And so they don't go up too high on your back, and they have space under the back here too. So if you are in a class where it's supported folds in a chair, you have levels here, so you can be folding at waist height, or maybe if you want to play with adding depth to poses, you can walk your hands down to the seat, and then I even have some rungs between my legs here where I can just keep walking myself down and just playing with the different sensations at the different levels. So I like having a folding chair like that, just so I have options for making my poses spicier or milder, essentially. If you're in a place where all you have is chairs with arms, that's fine. If you're in a place where the only chair option that you have available to you is a wheeled chair, either the wheelchair that you use or an office chair that is in your house, what I would recommend for that, so you can keep yourself safe as you move around in your practice, is to find a way to lock the wheels so they don't go rolling out from under you. You might put the chair up on your yoga mat to give some more grip and stability under it there. And then my best case scenario is that you would also have access to a wall. So you can move the chair all the way up to the wall, and then it definitely won't scoop back out from under you. And it also brings the wall to us in poses where we maybe want to rest our head back or something like that. So yeah, so that's kind of how I like to start, at least with the chair part. And then depending on what chair you have, I do a little seated test here. And so I set up for my centering position in any chair that I have by scooting myself all the way to the front of the seat. So just the edge of my butt, my sit bones there are the only things being supported by the chair, so my legs can be a little free out the front. And then I test where my knees fall when I'm really rooting my feet into the floor. And so if you can't get your feet firmly rooted into the floor, then maybe you'll have a blanket, or I have some books here that I might put under my feet. The books are about the same height. And so if you have blocks or thin books or blankets, just anything to be able to reach the floor. And so sometimes we reach the floor by just bringing the floor up to us a little bit. And so you can do that to find your foundation to the floor. And then to check in with your knees, if your chair is really low or you have really long legs, it's possible that you're sitting already in a kind of uncomfortable place where your knees are much higher than your hips. And that's not a fun neutral place because it's not very neutral. You have some stretching going on that you don't necessarily like or need. And so in that case, you can use a blanket or a cushion of some sort or a pillow and use that to lift your hips. So then you're starting in a place where your knees aren't already extremely bent and it's a little bit more neutral for your body in this place. And so once you've found that connection where you can feel your feet just firmly rooted into the floor, you have a connection to your chair. Once you've set that up, you can start building your kind of setup of your foundation, starting posture. And so it's easy, we call it easy seat. When we're sitting on the floor, it might be our mountain pose when we're standing, but all of our poses start from kind of neutral energy of really grounding down into the foundations where we're connected to the floor. So it might just be our feet or our feet and our butt if we're seated. And then we move and build our foundation up. So then the next thing we might do is draw our belly in and up a little bit and feel our core kick in to support us so we're not just dumping all of our weight into the hips below us. And then we might then work on seeing how we can maybe stack our shoulders over our hips because we're so used to sitting like this all the time. Just really broadening our shoulders, keeping them low out of our ears, and then imagining them just right up over our hips here. Just stacking our joints helps us create that stable foundation here. And then our head, we imagine there's a string pulling the crown of our head up to the ceiling. And once we've set up our root pose to move from, we can just start to breathe. And this might be all the yoga you need to practice today, is just that mindful adjustment away from just being hunched over your computer and breathing. And so now, with that foundation set, if you want to continue your movement practice, that's where you can tune into a class or video or whatever you need from here. I hope you will stay tuned, and I will offer some more videos that pick up at this point and move us forward. So I hope you have a wonderful day.